Hello. Today is day 45 of the Spirt Baby Devotional, of the 75-day Spirt Baby Devotional. And that means we have 30 more days in this space. And with that means just really big transformation. Because on the other side of the 75 days, I can't imagine that I would stop posting just because I really enjoy the consistency of it. But I would probably stop introducing it as the 75-day Spirt Baby Devotional. Yeah. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about clearing space or making space. I have some seedlings right here behind me. And if you hear the saw in the background, it's my husband cutting some wood because we're about to build some more garden beds. And it got me to thinking about just the shadow work aspect that comes with pregnancy. And I feel like over the past 45 days, I've talked about it a bit. But for the sake of this analogy, I suppose, or, metaphor, I don't know. I think it's an analogy. When children take root inside of your womb space, you have to think about all the things that your womb already carries in this life as a woman, as a person, as a soul. And the importance of shadow work is to clear space so that you have room for nurturing that new life, nurturing that new body, nurturing that new soul's body. Because that soul comes into this life with its own karma, with its own destiny, with its own power, and purpose in this world. And there are no words that, you won't just know your baby's purpose in this world. Because, you're the guide that nurtures them as they discover and lean into their purpose and find their purpose as they human. But there's a lot of clearing the way so you have the space to acknowledge them as their fullness, as their full selves. And there's something really big about that. And yeah, that's really the point of that. So I myself have been preparing for a VBAC for the past, I'd say 5 years. And my son is 5.5. And I say that because even the day I signed my waivers of all the risk that having a C-section entails, my midwife or doctor, I think she was an OB, I don't know, was telling me how as a person prior to having my C-section, I'd be a good candidate for a VBAC. And looking back, I don't think that's a conversation we should have been having. However, it was what I was wondering because I really didn't have an option. And I didn't plan for an option because my son was breech. So I've been planning for a VBAC since before I gave birth the first time. And in that, there just has been so much shadow work that goes into soulfully preparing, because I didn't realize how big of a bear the business of birthing is, and how any ideology around spiritually looking at birth is like poking a big ass grumpy bear. I didn't realize that. And a lot of the work that goes into that as a woman is, checking my good girl, checking my people pleaser, checking my submission to someone I think is more knowledgeable than I am because of, some letters they have behind their name. Because that's a big deal to have those letters. That's an achievement. However, I'm the mama. This is my body. And you can't tell me nothing about my body that I don't know. And I'm not saying that everybody is just that knowledgeable about their body. I'm saying everybody has access to knowledge and wisdom to learn more about their bodies, to walk in empowerment and not just give all power and allow themselves to be infantilized. I don't know what the word is, but you're not a little girl when you go into that birthing room. You are not to be pitied. You are not to have it done for you. Now you can, but obviously that's not the way I want to walk in there, especially someone who had a cesarean and there's this big looming fear of uterine rupture over my head. Even though a uterine rupture, the chance of it is about 1% more than the first time mom. And even then, I think the percentage of a uterine rupture, I want to say is like a 3% chance for a first time mom, and it's a 4% chance for a VBAC mom. That just is. I'll get into the studies another time, but it's literally not that much. It's that different. Like, it's that much of a difference. But with that looming pressure, if I'm not already knowledgeable and I walk into the birthing room expecting to have a VBAC, just going with the flow, no. And it's a big deal to understand myself as qualified to make intuitive and informed decisions in my own body as a birthing person. That's a big deal, and it's a very important thing to anchor myself into. And some more shadow work that goes into that is the big why did I have a C-section? Because there's a story behind every birth that you have, because every birth that a woman has is the birth that she is supposed to have, the birth that she and her child are supposed to have. And there's a whole story behind the birth that I had. And a lot of it had to do with all of my maiden life and the things that I was running away from versus feeling my way through. And yeah, and that's a big fucking deal. That's a big deal. And my relationship with intimacy and feeling love, because when it comes down to it, I don't know what a contraction feels like. And I also know that as a person, my relationship with my body after mothering, breastfeeding, and caring for a child has changed. And in that, there's a lot of being with everything. So when I am in the birthing process again, I'm in the birthing process and it's a physiologically protected birthing process, I can lean into oxytocin, I can lean into intimacy, because that's a big thing that I've had to sit with and be with because of different wounds that I have from existing with the parents that I had, and these are all things that I had not sat with, been with, looked at, or even considered being with prior to walking the threshold of motherhood in that rite of passage. And that's a part of my rite of passage, and that's singularly my story. And walking into the birth of my next child, whether it be a boy or a girl, but like I keep mentioning to y'all, hypothetically, I feel the presence of a girl. There's a lot of space in my womb that I have to make in order to have the sacred room that needs to be made in order to grow another womb. Because her womb is going to feel all the things that I feel. Her womb is going to hold the things that I don't have words for. And if I can do the best that I can do to clear that energy, or just, be with that energy, look at it, acknowledge it, have the awareness of, so it's not something that she has looming in her without, eyes on it or understanding of what we're going to be with as mother and daughter, or mother and baby, I can best be the guide that she needs, especially because that's not just it. There's multiple layers. Like I was mentioning at the beginning of the video, she comes in with her own purpose. She comes in with her own path of living. And for me to best serve her individual path, we both don't need to be cleaning up. the path that I lived as daughter, because I'm no longer walking as daughter. I'm walking as mother, and I am clearing the space for her to show me her definition of daughter. And like I said, whether I'm having a boy or a girl, whenever the time comes, that is the view that I have, because the same goes for a boy. The same goes for a masculine energy, because I have to be able to have space for him to come through, because I have all this awareness of just things that have hurt me, especially when it comes to the imbalance between masculine and feminine energy. I don't want to project that onto him. And that just is. Shadow work in pregnancy is important. Shadow work when you're conceiving a child is important, because you also have to check yourself as to why you want to have a baby. What does it mean to want to have a baby? What does it mean to want to parent that child? Do you only want to be pregnant and give birth, or are you looking into the sacredness that is guiding those children? Because that's the most important part. Because the pregnancy is a 9-month thing, and you never do that again with that baby. The birth is a one-time thing, and you never do that again with that baby. Unless you mean 20 plus years down the line when they're giving birth to their own kids, and whatever facet that looks like. Because then you have the rest of their lives with them. And that's been a lot of my journey too with preparing for a VBAC, is birthing remorse or disappointment, because it wasn't the birth that I wanted. I very vaguely wanted a water birth, but I also didn't do much work to achieve it. So when it comes down to the realness that is disappointment, I've had to grieve that. And I've had to grieve that while simultaneously picking myself up, caring for this new human, because most of my life, my living experience as mother has been after my birth. A lot of my learning, my healing, my being, my transformation, my evolving has all been everything after that moment. So that's really big. And it's really important to honor it and to be present in that. And yeah, that's what I have for us today. So yeah, thank you for being here on day 45. If you yourself are in the Atlanta, East Point, South Fulton area, and you are looking for a doula, my discovery calls is in the description below. I have a free ebook out. It is called Held While You Bloom, and it's a very soft, gentle guide for you to be with yourself and remember what it means to be held, and understand what it means for, or just what you want to be held. Like, what do you need? Being able to slow down and be with, what do I actually need in order to feel held while I'm pregnant, while I'm evolving, while I'm this vulnerable. Like I said, it's free. It's in the description box below. And lastly, if you want to join the tribe, the Spirit Baby Connect community on Facebook is open. Click the link, join. We would love to have you. And yeah, I'll see you again tomorrow on day 46.